Hi everyone. Welcome to Families in an Electronic World. My name is Dale Hawley, and I'm the instructor for this course. I'm a faculty member in Human Development and Family Studies at UW-Stout, and I'm looking forward to spending the semester with you engaged in what I think is a pretty important discussion about how we communicate as families. A few years ago, I started to get pretty interested in the way in which digital communication impacts family dynamics. I began to look around at the way in which families communicate, and in fact the way in which we communicate with almost everybody in our lives, and I began to think, wow, things are really changing. And I wonder how this changes how we interact as families. As you can probably tell, I've been around long enough to notice a number of differences over the past 30 or 40 years in terms of how we communicate. I'm what we might call a digital immigrant. And what that means is that I can remember the days before we had things like cell phones and computers even, and of course that impacted how we communicate as families. I remember, for example, watching a Radio Shack commercial back, I don't know, probably in the early 80s, where they were advertising personal computers that people might have in their homes. And I thought, what a crazy idea. That just seems crazy that people would actually have computers in their own homes. I mean, that was something that was only used in businesses, I thought. Boy, was I wrong. Because our lives, all of our lives, have been radically changed by the advent of computers and other forms of digital communication that have come along after that in our lives. You, many of you I suppose anyway, are what we might call digital natives. You've always had computers in your lives. You probably can't remember a time when somebody in your family didn't have a computer. You may hardly be able to remember a time when somebody didn't have a cell phone. But even there, I would imagine you've seen a lot of changes over the last even 10 or 15 years. For example, it wasn't that long ago that iPads showed up. Or iPhones, for that matter. The whole idea of a smartphone and being able to really carry around a computer in your hip pocket is a very, very new idea. And so even though you may always have had exposure to some sort of digital communication, whether it was email or texting or social media, things have changed a lot for you in the last 10 years as well. And they've also changed for families. The ways in which we connect with each other as family members. A lot of it is really great. I mean, I'm just thinking about my commute home from work. I have about a 45-minute commute or so from Menominee to where I live. And you know, I can use that time a lot for catching up with people. I can call my wife and see how her day has gone. I can call my mom, see how her health is holding up. I can call one of my kids. Well, I guess I wouldn't FaceTime when I'm driving in the car, but you know, I can stay connected. All within that 45-minute drive, which formerly would have been quote-unquote dead time. And, you know, if my wife can do the same, I'm driving home and she knows I'm driving home, she says, hey, can you stop in the store and pick up some milk or something? And, you know, it makes life a lot easier and more efficient for us. I had an experience a few years ago when we were overseas when one of our grandchildren was being born. And our kids brought the computer into the birthing room, and shortly after the baby, we didn't see the birth, but shortly after the baby was born, we got to meet her because, you know, they were able to Skype with us. And in fact, we probably were able to see, in fact this happened with 2 grandchildren, we were probably able to see them more quickly via Skype than we would have been able to see them had we been there in the room. So there are some really terrific things about having electronic communication at our fingertips. But there are also some downsides. For one thing, we're always on, 24/7. And so it's almost as if you're never out of communication. So if you want to get a break or a rest, it's harder to do that. And expectations have changed. You know, there's the notion that that how we respond to people, if they text us or if they send us a message via Facebook or Instagram, that we're supposed to respond in a certain way, and those rules have been changing. And most recently, I've been noticing that the way in which we communicate is more and more done through pictures than it is through words. Applications like Instagram or Snapchat, that a lot of folks are using these days, communicate what we're doing by letting people see rather than by hearing them tell us or via either a phone call or texts. So things are changing a lot. And some of the changes are great. Some of the changes are challenging because it means that we have to figure out new ways to connect with one another and kind of new rules around those ways of communicating in order to make sure that we do so in a way that really works out well for everybody. That's really what this class is about. This class is about exploring those ways of communicating with our friends to some degree, but especially with our family members. And so we're going to look at how we have been changed because of digital communication technologies that are available to us. We'll look at some issues that are related to couple communication and couple relationships. We'll look at some issues related to parenting. We'll look at some larger social issues that are at work because of the things like social media and texting and instant forms of communication. And the heart and soul of this class really, and I'll talk about this in another video, the heart and soul of this class really has to do with our discussion. So there's not right or wrong answers that we're going to be talking about here. We're going to be taking a look at some literature that's out there on this topic. We'll be taking a look at a number of videos and podcasts and things like that to spur your thinking about this particular issue. But much of what we're going to be doing in this class is having a discussion online. And my hope is that by the time you finish this class at the end of the semester, in some way or another, your thinking will be challenged. You'll be thinking about, how do I use various forms of electronic communication? And do I want to use them in that way, or do I want to make some changes about them? Not a right or wrong answer. In fact, I think it kind of varies for each one of us. But my goal is that we each at least examine the issue. So, following this video, I'd like for you to watch 3 more videos. One will talk in general about the topics for this class and the kind of requirements. It'll be going over the syllabus essentially, and so you'll have and so you'll want to be able to have the syllabus handy when we do that one. Another one is going to be talking about, in particular, the discussion board, because as I said earlier, that's kind of the central piece of this class. So it'll talk a bit about what I'm looking for, what sort of expectations I have related to the discussion board. And the third video will have to do with the assignments for this course, and once again, expectations I have about them. So be sure to watch those, and we'll be seeing a lot more of each other this semester, either via video or certainly in our online discussions, and I'm really looking forward to it.